Welcome, brothers and sisters, to this continuous study in the book of Matthew. Uh, and we're going to try to close out Matthew chapter 2 in this uh, segment here, where we are going to do a recap of Matthew chapter 2, verse 16. We got somewhat into Matthew chapter 2, verse 16 in our last study, which we did a recap starting at Matthew chapter 2, starting at verse 1, coming down to verse 18. I do suggest that you check that out. As a matter of fact, I do suggest that you check out all of our podcasts, all of our YouTube studies that we put for your entertainment, for your study purposes, if you choose. Here we are at Matthew chapter 2 at verse 16, and it's with pleasure that I have to go back to Matthew chapter 2 at verse 16. And I want to look at the book of Daniel chapter 3, maybe from verse 13 to verse 20. And I want to look at this term here, exceedingly wroth, exceedingly angry. Okay, where that when a person feels as though that someone is not doing what they want them to do, if someone is being mocked, as we see in the book of Matthew chapter 2 at verse 16, then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men. We looked at this word mocked, and we can understand the power that this word has when someone is being laughed at. Someone mocked you, laughed at you, but called it a joke. See? And you say, why mock me? Oh, I'm just joking with you. In reality, I'm just laughing at you. Ridiculed. But here, Herod instructed the wise men to return to him where the young child who was born from his mother Mary and where he would be. So he can also come, as he stated, to worship him. But we understood, and we do understand in reading the scriptures, that the Pharisees and some of the Sadducees, some of the men and women states, we have no other king but Caesar. So here they are asking Herod, where is he who is born king? Herod calls them privately, all right? And asked them diligently the time that the star appeared. They gave him this time. Herod sent them, but we realize that warned in a dream from the Most High God to do not go back to Herod. Don't go back there. Okay? Go into your country in a different route. So they eluded Herod, not going back to instruct Herod. He was defeated. He felt as though he was probably laughed at. And with that comes extreme or exceeding wrath, exceeding anger. Let's go to the book of Proverbs first. Let's look at Proverbs with this exceeding anger. All right. Do you have friend, family member, co-worker who gets angry very fast? Let's go to 27, and I just want to read verse 3 and 4. A stone is heavy, and the sand weigheth, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both. A fool's wrath. A fool is what? What is a fool? All right. We would think a fool is one who humiliates himself before people. But the Bible says a fool says in his heart that there is no Most High God. All right. So when you are that angry and that darkness appears, even though that the Most High God says, be angry, but sin not. Don't let that anger of yours that you have turn into a transgression of the commandments of the Most High God. Okay? One mistake, you were so angry that you hit your child. Boom! Now it turned into sin. Because not only did you hit your child hard enough that it hits his head and now it's in a coma. That wrath of yours turned to abuse, could turn to second-degree attempted murder. See, you and your wife upset, the heart is connected, y'all standing face to face, but you are angry with each other, and that anger, see, separates your heart to the point that you put your hand on your wife or your wife put your hands on you. Be angry, okay? You have the right to be angry, but sin not. A stone is heavy and the sand weigheth, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both. Wrath is cruel. What is wrath? It's cruelty. See, when you feel the wrath of somebody, you feel the cruelty of a person. Anger is outrageous. But who is able to stand before envy? Wrath, anger, envy. Open rebuke is better than secret love. And that's what we need. If you are an associate of mine and you see that I am angered, showing outrageousness, you would make sure that it don't turn to wrath. You would openly rebuke me. And this is what a lot of friendships are supposed to have, but an open rebuke. You know, I'm on the phone, I rebuke that behavior of yours. It's wrong. You hang up and you choose not to call no more because of the open rebuke. You just want to be loved and loved no matter what you do, what your decision is that will affect your whole entire family, your community, but you still want to be loved. But you don't want to be rebuked because you want to be loved secretly. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kiss of an enemy are deceitful. Let's go back to the book of Matthew real quick, but I want to look at the book of Daniel, chapter 3, as we continue, and we're going to continue and try to get this chapter 2 and move on to Matthew chapter 3, where we are introduced to John the Baptist, okay? And we're starting at verse 16. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceedingly wroth. If you ever read the book of Daniel and you read it and you would hear about the 3 Jews of the tribe of Judah out of the house of Israel, and how that King Nebuchadnezzar wanted to cast them, or did cast them, into a fiery furnace. Okay? That anger turned into wrath, which turned into cruelty. See? My wrath, your wrath, is cruelty. See? Let's go to the book of Daniel. And let's go to chapter 3. It's good to go from the Old Testament to the New Testament, to the New Testament, to the Old Testament. We would like to read the entire Bible, the entire law, covenant, or covenants, if you will, of the Most High God, to get an understanding of where he wants us to be. You know, there's nothing new under the sun. What you're doing, somebody has already done. What you're about to do, somebody has already done. Somebody has already experienced it. Somebody can give you wisdom and understanding on the situation that you're in. But it takes a wise man to receive that understanding, that wisdom, to become what we know as wiser. Okay? To become what we know as wiser. So, verse 13, then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage, in his outrageousness, in his anger, okay, in addition to fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my Elohim? Don't you worship my God? Not yours, my God. We live in a day, in a time where that most men and women, even though 86% of those in America believe in a God. A few years ago, it was 96, so it dropped about 10%. But there are those who say, don't you believe in my God, depending on the local congregation that you're going to. See, know what God you are serving. This is very important, where that the church attendance has totally dropped. And it has totally dropped because most people are not going into a verse-by-verse local congregation where that they bring the word of God. I suggest that you go to a local congregation where that they bring the word of God verse upon verse, okay? Where that they bring it precept is a better term, which is given to us in the Bible, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. See, because this is where we get our understanding and rest from. Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel chapter 3, verse 14, spake and said unto them, Is it true, okay, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, do not ye serve my Elohim, okay, nor worship the golden image which I have set up. This is where a lot of people are today. All right. A lot of people are here where they worship the golden image. Okay. That was, or that had been set up. Okay. There's nothing new under the sun. Now, if you be ready that at what time you hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sarkback, the parsley, and the chimer, the lute chimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image, which I have made. Isn't that important to understand? When you have that phone in your hand and people worship that phone, which a ruler has made for you to worship. See? When you worship and you watch your TV series like you would watch a religious telecast that comes on weekly, but you don't watch the religious telecast because a lot of people are no longer religious. They believe in a God, but they don't believe in the commandments that God has set up for your benefit, that he may see you worthy so that you can receive what you are asking for because of your worthiness. Okay? And all kinds of music. Ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, you shall be cast the same hour, okay, into a mist of burning, fiery furnace. And who is that Elohim? Who is that God, okay, that shall deliver you out of my hands? Okay. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful. Wow. We are not careful to answer thee in this matter. We're not even going to think about this. Okay. If it be so, our Elohim. That's a powerful statement that must be in the mouth of one who believes in the Most High God, who trusts in the Most High God. Our, not yours, our, because you want me to bow down to yours in your rage, in your cruelty, in your anger, in your fury. If it be so, our God, which we serve, is able. See, he has the ability to deliver us from the burning, fiery furnace. He has the ability to deliver us from your wrath, from your cruelty. And you must have this in your heart, in your mind, that our God can deliver me from you. See, he is able if he wants to. See? And he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve your God. We won't serve him. We're not going to praise and worship the Most High God to your music. Because praising and worshiping the Most High God to your music, you could be singing to another God. And I am now in agreement with your music that transfer me from the service of the Most High God unto your God, to worship your God, to bow down to your God, but trying to say that I'm worshiping my God. See? But if not, be it known unto thee. Let it be known, O King, that we will not serve thy Elohim, nor worship. We're not going to serve him. We're not going to worship the golden image which thou hast set up. The Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his vesture was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 17 times more than it wont to be heated. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, to bind Meshach, to bind Abednego, and to cast them into the fiery furnace. We can see that they mocked him, okay, by saying these words. If it be so, no, by saying these words at verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are careful not to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our Elohim, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy Elohim. We're not going to serve your gods. We're not going to do it, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. This is done in front of the king and those who brought these three men to the king in his court, which means it's done before everybody. Oh, you want to mock me? You want to try to say that you can elude me? Let it be known. Cast them into that fire. See, cast them into that fire. Let's go back to the book of Matthew. And we're going to get through this, people. We're definitely going to get through this. This is a great study for you. This is a great entertaining study for you, for your entertainment, where that you can really sit down and digest what you will. You know, sit at the table, you know, take that fork, spoon, knife, and let's dig in, right? Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceedingly wroth, exceedingly angry. This is the same type of anger, all right? And sent forth and slew all the children that were born in Bethlehem. So angry, kill them all. I don't know where this child is. The wise men eluded me, probably laughed at me. You thought we were coming back to you, but an angel from heaven appeared to us in a dream and told us to go another way. See, into our country. Don't go back your way. Eluded you. See. Not only did he kill all the children in Bethlehem, in addition to in all the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and under. Notice, and under. Okay? So it takes a child 10 months to grow in the womb. So after that child is born, they knew to cast that child into the fiery furnace. Okay? The fiery furnace is sending these Roman soldiers to come and kill that child the moment it's born. See, all the male children, Pharaoh said, cast them and feed them to the alligators and the crocodiles. Kill these children. In slavery in the United States and all over, children were taken, see, fed to the crocodiles. This is history that is trying to be wiped out because of anger, because of cruelty. He who leads into captivity must go into captivity. See, whew. I tell you, a judgment is coming on the whole face of the earth, from the east to the west, from the north to the south. The question is, are you in the resurrection of everlasting life? Are you there? If something would happen to you today or tomorrow, do you know for sure that you would rise unto everlasting life? Yes, we do go to sleep. Some men are forced to sleep by the hand of another man. He was or she was murdered. That person will wish that he was never born. He will wish that he never existed. Because the moment that the Father sees this, because the eyes of the Lord are in every place, seeing the good and the evil that we do, his brother shall come to you, and not just that, if you die in your sin, you will die twice. You will die twice. Matthew chapter 2 at verse 17, then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet. Okay, Jeremiah the prophet. Let's read verse 15 one more time. And was there until the death of her, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of Yahweh by the prophet. See, God is the one that spoke this. See, what's happening in Matthew chapter 2, verse 15 on down, the clue is that God spoke it. The Most High God is not like man, that he think like man, that he speak like man. Even though Christ came in the form, keep that in mind, in the form of sinful flesh, he was not of the same flesh that we have. The flesh that you and I have is sinful, which means that Christ came out of his mother's womb without the seed or the blood of sin. See, sin is in the semen, the seed of a man, which is interject into a woman, which then finds what we call is her egg and inserts itself in that egg, okay? Which then brings forth the sinful behavior of its father and the father before the father. See? And then that sinful flesh is produced, where that the moment the child is born, it begins to speak lies. It begins to repeat after his father or his father before him. Regardless if it's male or female that is born, you will have the characteristics of your father, regardless if you know or do not know. Christ was born without sinful flesh. He had no seed of a man. That sinful blood, see, which cannot inherit heaven because sin is in that blood. See, it's in there. Christ came and looked like a sinful man. See, he looked like one, but his flesh was something else because it came out of the woman without the flesh, which is the seed of a man. See, he is the son of the Holy Ghost. See, the Holy Spirit. See, they said to Christ, we don't want to stone you because of your good deeds, but because of your blasphemy and you calling yourself the Son of God, making yourself equal with God. The sinful seed that goes into a woman that comes out of the woman makes that sinful seed equal with its father that put that sinful seed in that woman. See? But Christ comes out without sin, which makes him equal unto his father. My father is sinless, and so am I. See, a woman can sit down and say, you act just like your father. Christ acted just like his father. He did not act like Joseph. Joseph had the stained sin of the kings before him, where God said, you shall not sit on the throne, make this man childless. However, a king did come and sit on the throne, even though Joseph was the rightful king, but could not sit on the throne. But all that authority that he had was passed to his firstborn. Christ could not be called the king of Israel until after the death of Joseph. Okay? After the death of Joseph. And after Joseph died, what was Christ called? King of Israel. Let's read Matthew chapter 2 at verse 15. And was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of Yahweh by the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son. Then Herod, because the Most High God has spoken this by the prophets. Remember what they told Moses, don't let the Most High God speak to us. You go up, hear what he says, and then you come and speak to us, and we'll do everything that he says. So the prophets hear from God, his word, then they come and speak his word, and we know that this is God speaking. So it's God who spoke this. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men and was exceedingly wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and in all the coast thereof from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he diligently acquired of the wise men. God already knew before Herod was born that he was going to kill these children. God says, I know you're in at your beginning. If you was in a car accident and you survived it, did you survive by your skill? Or did you survive because the Most High God spoke your survival? See? If you were in a hospital, had life-saving surgery, did you survive based off of the skill of the doctor's hands, or because God spoke that that doctor would meet you and gave this doctor a blessing that would heal you and cure you by the word that God spoke over your life. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying, in Ramah, okay, in Ramah was there a voice heard, and lamentations, and weeping, great mourning. Rachel, in our last study, we looked at Rachel and how it is connected with the number 7. We looked at how Jacob worked 7 years for Rachel, but received Leah. Okay. Then how he worked another 7 years to receive Rachel. Then worked another 7 years, see, for his children, so he could leave, for his family. So we know that 7 is connected with Rachel. And what I see here is that Herod was looking for this child until death. 7 is the number of completion. For the completion of the rest of his life, he looked for this child to make sure that this child would not sit on the throne of Israel. Herod sent the wise men as king to Bethlehem. Herod is the one that commissioned that all children 2 years and under be destroyed in Bethlehem and the entire coast. Herod, in his mindset, placed as king by Caesar, feels as though he is the king of Israel. Okay? So Rachel weeping for her children. See, this lamentation, this weeping for her children, and would not be comforted because they are murdered. These children didn't die natural causes. These children were murdered out of the 12 tribes, regardless if they were scattered throughout the entire coast. If a child was born, they would take the census, look at the census. The census would tell where you were born and who you are associated with. Joseph had to go where? Bethlehem. So for the census, they would look on it, boom. Child, how old? 2 years, destroyed. See, that's what they would do, but they were murdered. Here you have this woman crying. And we have a lot of women doing this that cannot be comforted. Because you have men and women today in their rage, okay, in their wrath, their cruelty, that decides to take another man out as if they are the ones that bless that woman to bring forth that child. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah and let's go to verse 4 and let's read verse 31. Okay? And let's read verse 31. Let's go to chapter 4. And let's listen to the words here and why Rachel could not be comforted. Okay? For I have heard a voice as of a woman in travail, and the anguish as of her that bringeth forth her first child. The voice of the daughter of Zion, that bewaileth herself, that spreadeth her hands, saying, Woe is me now, for my soul is wearied because of murders. How many of our women, when you send your child to the store, when you send your child outside to play, and you as a mother just feel this thing that comes over you, and you decide just to run outside because you felt something left you, not by natural causes, but by some idiot, okay, by someone who felt as though that they were born on this earth to do what they just did and take away your child through this word here, murders. Herod, no matter how of a great king and the temples and stuff that he built, his last few years turned him into a murderer. Okay. Killing children, babies, where mothers cannot be comforted. See, they cannot be comforted because her children are being murdered. And God knows this. This is why I believe that these children are the 144,000 spoken of in the book of Revelation. This is what I believe. Never had an opportunity to be able to decide marriage, to really enjoy life and decide what their future would be. These are the ones that shall return with Christ, okay, and the 10,000s of his saints, that we who are alive after those who are resurrected, okay, shall meet him in the air. And those who Christ comes in as a thief does in the night when you don't expect him, will then see and will say, woe is me. As these mothers are doing. Or have done. Let's go to, or back to, if you will, the book of Matthew chapter 2, verse 18. Okay? Because in Ramah, was there a voice heard? Lamentations. See, weeping. Okay. Lamentations, in addition to weeping, and great mourning. Hear those three words: lamentation, weeping, mourning. Rachel, even though that she died giving birth to her last son, Rachel represents all the women weeping for her children. Rachel is still weeping today. See, notice Mary saying to Christ, only if you would have been here, my brother would be alive. Only if you would have been here. Weeping for her children and would not be comforted because they are murdered. These children are killed. Matthew chapter 2 at verse 19. Okay. But when Herod was dead, okay, but when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of Yahweh appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt. God can reach a man anywhere. And this angel which reached him in Egypt in his dream said, arise, okay, and take the young child and his mother. See? He's still young. Notice he's called a young child at 12 years old. Okay, when he was in the temple, asking questions and giving answers. He was called the young child. So if he leaves at 2 years of age, most likely he had the dream and popped up, told his wife to let's go right now, ride into Egypt and stay there until I bring the word to come out at 2 years of age. Just imagine 7 years. Just imagine he gets there at 3, okay? And he has to come back out. By the time Christ comes back, when Herod is dead, he's about 10 years of age. Right? He's about 10. Because we know that they followed the customs when they came back into the land of Israel, going to the temple on the feast days as instructed by following the laws of God. Matthew chapter 2 at verse 20 saying, arise, take the young child and his mother and go into the land of Israel. For they are dead which sought the young child's life. Now, Mary can now bring forth more children. Now they don't have to worry if she gets pregnant and bring forth another child. The brothers of Christ. See? Because they're no longer following after this practice of seeking children in Bethlehem and throughout the coast and just killing them. See? For they are dead which sought the young child's life. And he arose and took the young child and his mother and came into the land of Israel. But when he, Joseph, heard that Archelaus did reign in Judea in the room of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there, notwithstanding being warned in a dream. Okay? He was afraid to go there because of the behavior of his father. Okay? You might and you probably will follow after the same practices of your father. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, I don't know. But being warned in the dream, he turned aside into the parts of Galilee. And he came and dwelt in the city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets. He shall be called a Nazarene. Brothers, we are at the end of the book of Matthew, chapter 2, which ends at verse 23. We will now begin our new study in the book of Matthew, chapter 3, starting at verse 1. Hearing and seeing what's taking place, where we will see John the Baptist, the cousin of Christ, on the scene, preparing the way for the Son of God. Hit that like button, that notification button, that subscribe button, so that you will know when we do this study, John the Baptist prepares the way. Until next time, I am the host of this entertaining, exciting Bible reading podcast, Rodney Thomas. See you next time.